Kult, Divinity Lost is a tabletop role-playing game for mature audiences. One game master and up to 5 players gather to tell a story of awakening. Players take on the roles of protagonists known as player characters, or PCs. These are individuals who begin to see past the veil of reality. They realize, slowly and with increasing dread, that the world is not as it seems. Beneath the comforting lies of everyday life, beneath the fluorescent lights and familiar streets, something ancient stirs. A corridor in a metro station stretches deeper than physics allows. A childhood trauma re-emerges in the face of a stranger's smile. A mirror flickers, not with your reflection, but something watching from the other side. These are the cracks in the illusion, and through them your character will descend. What waits below is pain, transformation, and perhaps truth, if they survive. This game explores disturbing themes: trauma, violence, abuse, and existential horror. Before play begins, it is critical that all players agree on boundaries and discuss lines and veils. The horror contract outlined in the core rulebook provides an essential framework for this. Do not skip it. Before your first session, the GM prepares the scenario. The players then create their characters using one of Kult's 25 archetypes. Your character is not a hero. They are broken, lost, or compromised in ways even they do not yet understand. The character sheet will help you define what they're good at, what haunts them, and what they've chosen to forget. During gameplay, the GM sets scenes, plays NPCs, and enforces the rules. Players describe what their characters do in response. When a choice is dangerous or of uncertain outcome, a player will make a move, rolling 2 10-sided dice and adding relevant attributes. The result determines what happens next: success, consequence, or suffering. Let's walk through an example of a move, the core mechanic of Kult Divinity Lost. Your character has been searching for someone. Through public records, you discover they're listed as a patient at the Little Hill Asylum. You visit during daylight hours. The nurse at reception insists.
That person isn't here.
But on her desk, barely hidden beneath paperwork, you catch a glimpse of a post-it note. A name. A room number. That night you return. You slip past the guards, avoid security cameras. You find the door. Locked. Footsteps echo down the corridor. You are within earshot of the guard station, but you came prepared. You draw your lockpicks. This is a move. Specifically, act under pressure. You roll 2d10 and add your coolness modifier. The outcome will fall into one of 3 categories. 15 or higher is a total success. You do exactly what you intended. The lock clicks, the door opens, and you vanish inside undetected. 10 to 14 is known as a partial success. You succeed, but at a cost. Perhaps the lockpick snaps as you finish, leaving evidence behind. Maybe the door swings closed and locks behind you, trapping you in a padded room with a patient who should not be unchained. 9 or lower constitutes a failure. The picks slip from your fingers and clang against the floor. The sound reverberates down the corridor. Footsteps quicken. You are no longer alone. This structure applies to almost every move in Kult. The higher the success, the more control your character maintains over the narrative. The lower, the more power the game master assumes. Kult Divinity Lost provides 25 archetypes to choose from. 20 of these are known as aware. These characters have begun to perceive the cracks in the illusion. They are ordinary people made extraordinary by trauma, obsession, or forbidden knowledge. 4 archetypes are enlightened. These individuals have unlocked dangerous powers and carry equally dangerous burdens. And the final archetype is the sleeper, a character still fully blinded by the illusion, utterly unaware of the truth, until it breaks through. If anyone at the table chooses to play a sleeper, all players should do the same. The story then becomes one of collective awakening. We'll explore each archetype in a future video. For now, let's walk through how to build a single aware character from scratch. Meet Julia. She never really fit in. She dresses in black, reads books no one recommends, and prefers candlelight to neon. Eventually, she opened a rare occult bookstore in the French Quarter of New Orleans. The rent is extortionate, the customers are unusual. But she's carved out a life, one bound in leather and dust. We'll choose the occultist archetype for her. Each archetype includes a set of options: visual style, profession, a list of dark secrets, advantages, disadvantages, and suggested relations with other characters. Let's begin with her dark secret. We select forbidden knowledge. One evening, a sweating man stumbles into her store. He carries a large tome, wrapped in cloth. He looks over his shoulder 3 times before unwrapping it. The book is old, at least 200 years. She buys it immediately. But its contents are incoherent. A madman's scribblings, rantings about a false world, broken gods, and hidden prisons. Disappointed, she hides it away. But something begins to change. The shadows in the alley stretch longer. Her dreams become recursive. A door appears where none had been, and then blackness. She wakes 3 days later in an alley, bruised, alone. When she returns to the store, it's been broken into, smashed glass and torn shelves, and the book is gone. And something is following her. Her only choice: find the tome and learn the truth. As we build Julia, now we select her disadvantages, flaws, obsessions, and traumas that endanger Julia's mind, body, and future. We choose Stalker. Since the night she blacked out, Julia has noticed hooded figures loitering across the street, in doorways, behind mirrors, watching. And let's pick repressed memories, as she cannot remember what happened during the blackout. 3 full days lost, her body bruised, and her mind fragmented. Now we decide on her advantages, abilities and traits that reflect what she's learned and what she's disturbingly good at. Each archetype provides a curated list. For Julia, let's choose Occult Library. She owns a bookstore of rare and forbidden texts. When conducting occult research, she finds what others cannot. Enhanced Awareness. Exposure to the tome has left her senses attuned. She can perceive subtle distortions in the illusion and sometimes see what lies beneath. And finally, Thirst for Knowledge. The more Julia learns about other planes, hidden truth, and beings beyond the veil, the more stable she feels, for now. Next, we assign Julia's attributes, the core traits that shape how she interacts with the world and how the world pushes back. Every move in Kult Divinity Lost ties into one of these, modifying the outcome of a roll. Passive attributes reflect how Julia reacts. These aren't about what she does, they're about how she survives. When she's blindsided, broken, or on the edge of collapse, these determine if she holds together or falls apart. We get to assign a +2, a +1, and a +0. Willpower is your mental fortitude, your ability to stay sane in the face of horror. For Julia, it's her strongest trait. Her mind is scarred but intact, She's seen things she shouldn't and survived. Willpower, +2. Reflexes measure how fast you react when something comes at you. Bullets, blades, or even worse. Julia's nerves are frayed but sharp. She startles easily, but she moves fast. Reflexes, +1. Fortitude is your physical toughness, your ability to withstand injury and keep on going. Julia isn't built for endurance. She gets winded and bruises easily. But she's used to that, so fortitude, +0. Active attributes, on the other hand, define what Julia initiates. These fuel her actions and her choices. Whether she investigates, attacks, persuades, or glimpses something no one else can see, it's these values that decide the results. We get to assign a +3, a +2, a +1, another +1, a +0, a -1, and a -2. Reason represents logic, deduction, and intellect. Julia lives in her head. She's seen patterns where others see chaos. This is her sharpest edge. Reason, +3. Soul measures your spiritual sensitivity, your connection to what lies beneath the illusion. Julia has changed since the tome entered her life. Something unseen walks beside her. Soul, +2. Violence governs your capacity to hurt, how good you are at fighting. She doesn't look like much, but when threatened, she doesn't hesitate. Violence, +1. Intuition is about instinct, reading people, sensing danger, and trusting your gut. Years behind the counter have taught her who to trust and who to fear. Intuition, +1. Perception is your conscious awareness, what you actively notice about your environment. Julia doesn't always catch what's obvious. She's more focused on what shouldn't be there. Perception, +0. Charisma is your ability to influence others, through charm, manipulation, or simply your presence. Let's just say people find Julia unsettling. Charisma, -1. And coolness measures how well you function under pressure, how steady you stay when the world gets loud. This is her weak spot. When things spiral, so does she. Coolness, -2. Together, these numbers shape how Julia sees the world and how she acts when it pushes back. Now we get to define relations, emotional ties that bind your character to others at the table or in-game. In Kult Divinity Lost, relationships matter. They can ground you and they can break you, as well as be used against you. Each PC begins the game with a selection of relations to other player characters. These are scored from 0 to 2. A score of 0 represents a neutral relation, someone you know but feel little for. A coworker, maybe an acquaintance. A score of 1 marks a meaningful relation, friendships, affection, trust. A sibling, a partner, or even a beloved pet. And a score of 2 is a vital relation. These are your children, your soulmates, maybe even a person you are obsessed with. It is someone you cannot lose without losing yourself. Let's give Julia a vital relation. She's run the bookstore for years with her closest companion, Max. They've stood together through break-ins, illness, and death. Max knows Julia's moods, knows when to speak and when to disappear. But since the blackout, Julia has been hiding something. She hasn't told Max about the tome, or the 3 missing days, or bruises. Max doesn't ask. Not yet. This connection strengthens the group and creates vulnerabilities that the game master is free to exploit. Every character in Kult Divinity Lost begins play with 2 dramatic hooks. Hooks are short, actionable objectives tied directly to your character's past, relationships, or obsessions. They drive the narrative forward and reward the player for leaning into their character's internal struggle. When you complete a dramatic hook, you gain 1 experience point. You'll create 2 during your character creation. Additional hooks may then be introduced later on by the GM or even other players. For Julia, we create 2 hooks that reflect her trauma and the mystery at the heart of her story. Julia must tell Max the truth about the missing book and the blackout. Julia must return to the last place she remembers before the missing days. These give the Game Master immediate threats to pull, while giving the player clear goals rooted in character and not combat. Good hooks create tension, they challenge stability, and they involve others. These do all 3. We now complete Julia's sheet by setting her stability and selecting her starting gear. In Kult Divinity Lost, your character's mental and emotional condition is tracked using stability. It represents your grip on reality, your hold on the self. At the beginning of play, most characters begin the game in a composed state. But this will not last. As your characters face trauma, glimpses of forbidden truth, or endures the effect of supernatural forces, their stability will shift. Some may never return. But for now, Julia begins as composed. Unlike many other RPGs, Kult does not require shopping lists or fixed inventories. Your character begins play with any equipment that is logical and narratively justifiable. If your character is a soldier, they may still own their service weapon. If they're a librarian, they probably don't. Julia is prepared, but subtle. Her gear reflects her paranoia and her need for protection in a world that is no longer safe. She carries a butterfly knife, which counts as an etched weapon, a stun gun, a flashlight, and like any other character, she is capable of unarmed attacks. No armor, no arsenal, just instincts, steel, and a sense that something is coming. We now turn to advancement, the last section of the character sheet, and the long path from sleeper to awakened. You gain experience points in 2 ways. First, by completing dramatic hooks. Second, by answering the following 3 questions at the end of each session. Have we discovered anything new about the truth? Have we learned something new about our characters? And have we challenged ourselves? For each yes, you gain 1 experience point. Once you've accumulated 5, you can unlock an advancement. These allow you to modify your attributes, gain new advantages, and eventually transition into a higher state of awareness. So sleepers become aware, who in turn develop into enlightened and eventually awakened. Each of these have their own character sheets and specified character advancements. Julia, however, will begin her journey as one of the aware, but where it ends, we do not know. Now that Julia's attributes are set, let's talk about player moves, the mechanical heart of Kult Divinity Lost. Moves are triggered whenever your character takes an action where the outcome is uncertain. When that happens, the Game Master will call for a move, and you will roll 2 10-sided dice or 2d10, adding the relevant attribute to the sum total of the dice. The result determines what happens next. As we have previously mentioned, 15 or more is a complete success, and you do exactly as intended. 10 to 14 is a partial success, which means you succeed but something goes wrong. 9 or less is a failure. The situation escalates, the horror deepens, and the cost is real. Each move corresponds to a specific attribute. Some are triggered when your character is under threat, others when they reach out to act. Either way, the world responds. Avoid harm is tied to reflexes. It's used when your character tries to dodge, whether that's a punch, a bullet, or something far stranger. When the knife is already in the air, can you move fast enough? Endure injury uses fortitude. When you've been hit, physically wounded, you roll to see if you stay on your feet or collapse in blood and bone. It's not about avoiding the blow, it's about surviving it. Keep it together draws on willpower. You've seen something that you cannot comprehend. You've been pushed too far. This roll decides whether your psyche bends or breaks. Act under pressure relies on your coolness. It's about staying focused in moments of high tension, disarming a trap, sneaking past security, or pulling the trigger without flinching. Engaging combat uses violence. This is your strike, brutal, direct, and often final. A roll that decides who bleeds first. Influence others depends on charisma, whether you're seducing, lying, negotiating, or threatening. This is where words become weapons. Read the person draws from intuition. You're watching someone closely. Are they hiding something? Are they afraid? What do they want? Investigate uses reason. It's the move for putting clues together, analyzing evidence, and drawing out the truth that others overlook. Observe a situation uses perception. You scan the environment, clock the exits, notice the glint of steel in someone's hand, the details others miss. And finally, see through the illusion is powered by soul. The veil is thin. Reality flickers, and this move lets you glimpse what's really there and what has always been hiding beneath the lie. Finally, there's help or hinder, a cooperative move used to assist or sabotage another player. When someone else rolls a move, you can jump in to tip the balance. You can use the same attribute they are rolling, and the outcome can change everything. These 11 moves form the mechanical spine of Kult Divinity Lost and how the narrative is shaped in each session. You'll find the moves summarized in a free 2-page PDF linked in the video description. We recommend printing them out, keeping them nearby, and keeping the lights on. You are now ready to create your character, understand the rules, and take your first steps into the illusion. For more information, refer to the official Kult Divinity Lost core rulebook, and consider supporting the publisher Helmgast by purchasing a physical copy or the PDF available on their website. Links to character sheets, move references, and the Kult homepage are in the description of this video. If you want to explore the world of Kult Divinity Lost further, check out our other videos here at Lorefall Studios. Good luck. You'll need it. If you have found a glimpse of truth today, please like the video. And if you want to keep digging, subscribe. There is more waiting just under the surface.